Hello and welcome everyone to the Temple of Love. This is our monthly group meeting for people that are either part of our YouTube channel. Hopefully you've joined our Telegram so that you can receive these Zoom meetings, how to join us once a month. But it's also mostly was designed as a support system for people that go through my womb healing program, through wholeness retreat, Queen Retreat, and Sexual Goddess Retreat, because these programs are online, and every program I do live only once. And once the live is done, it's properly video recorded, and if it's a perfect product, it's done. And so then it's recorded and it's sold only in a recorded version. And so I thought, when I was for 10 years learning and studying everything about the feminine, about the art of enchantment, the art of geisha, the yin and yang, the personal growth and psychology and so forth, I had always a ton of questions. I would take some courses, I would work it through, I would practice, and then I always have a journal. And then I would have questions, sometimes that I wanted to expand the boundaries of what I have learned. Sometimes during the practice, I would discover that the things that I was taught are off. Like when I was taking the geisha course, pretty much every ritual had broken codes. So I could feel like, oh my God, it's in the right direction, it feels right. But I perform it and I'm not getting results, and I'm very results oriented. And so, I would want to talk to the teacher, to the creator, and I wanted often to just have like a girlfriend conversation. And, one of my best teachers, from whom I called her the cherry on the cake. Like everything I've learned was the cake. And when I came to her, I already knew so much. It was blowing my mind off. Anywhere I went, I could teach the teachers. But when I met her, I felt very humbled, because she could pinpoint things where I was not weak, but incapable of it, because I didn't have the apps. Like, for example, I would be dating this incredible millionaire. I was able to attract him through the art of enchantment. And then 3 months later, and it's not going anywhere. And then he disappears. And I'm rejected and in pain again. And I was like, what is going on? Like, I work on myself. I can now attract. I can get the attention. I can get somewhere. But why is it not happening for a relationship? Like a deep, long, loving, caring, the perfect relationship. I could even attract now the perfect man, but like not build a perfect relationship. And so I called her up, and I was like, for 40 minutes, I'm telling my story and complaining, and that what is wrong with the men, how they're afraid of the strong, educated, successful women. Of course, it's not my fault he's rejecting me. It's his problem, right? So I'm sitting there justifying what the fuck is wrong with him. So she listened. And she said, oh, Yana, you just don't know how to build relationships, do you? And that was it. That I paid 500 euros for. That's the sentence that changed my life. So I sat back and I was like, of course, I don't know how to build relationships. Where would I know from? Who would teach me? My mom, who never built a happy relationship. The movies, which always show up to the point they finally kiss, they overcome all this challenging, and they find challenges and then finally kiss, and the end of the happy ending. It was like, where is this scenario of a healthy, beautiful, loving relationships? And also, we're all different. Right now, we have a beautiful group here, and with some of you I work privately. Every single one of you, if I do the exact same session, is gonna be totally different. It's impossible to repeat, because the alchemy that each of you have, the amount of earth, water, air, fire as an element, and the wisdom that stands behind that, what that means is different. The age is different, the experience is different, the level of awareness is different, the country you're coming from is different. There are so many other components that make you so unique that there is not one advice. Like Mila is here, and I remember we were having a private session, and her first private session, she had like 51 questions about what she learned from Instagram and YouTube about what a woman should do. That the man is a hunter, so the woman should be the lower hand. That women should be like this, or men should be like this. And I was listening to all of these things. Of course, I know all of that. I've heard all of that from Instagram coaches and so forth. And I'm like, Mila, that's all like take a big bag and put all that as trash and put delete in your brain. Because single thing they say, it's true and it's not applicable. It's like, what do you need this information? It doesn't work like that. A woman is more powerful, the feminine energy is more powerful than the masculine energy. And so the woman is not passive. She is attracting. She is just not actively pursuing a man. Do you see the difference? So I am the one choosing the man with my womb, with my heart, with my desire, with my ecstasy. If I see a man, I go, wow, I want him. That as a woman, I have to feel who I want, because then I'm gonna be activated and flow energy. And then I can use my sexual goddess techniques to activate my pheromones, open the flower, and bring him into my aura. And now if he's resonant with that, if that's delicious to him, if that's a proper alchemy for him, then it begins. He will approach me. But who attracted whom? So today we're going to talk about some really hot topics I have for you, but I want to start with this because after the last session, our November temple meeting, I hope you all watched it. If you haven't, please go there. It was raw and powerful. I really touched upon that construct of inner woman and inner man. And then I've got personal questions from my friends, like to clarify that yin-yang aspect in a woman. And I thought, and I left her messages. And so that's the reason I created a temple now, is because people ask me privately a lot of questions, and I don't have the energy and the time to give free consultations, because it's like 5 minutes there, 20 minutes there, 25 there. The time is gone. Because I don't just speak, I connect and I give energy into it, because I shift the concept that I'm not in agreement with. Because most of the concepts about relationships, femininity, even health, I'm also an expert at that, they are broken codes. And because I've studied it for, now it's already 20 years, but before I became a coach, I studied it for 10 years for personal benefit. And then each time I would have these questions come up, I would have to book a session for 500, and I couldn't even often get all of my questions in. because I also wanted to talk and I wanted to share with her, and I wanted to show off how smart I am or to get pity. Like I was an unhealed child, and my teacher was my mommy for me in some ways. I was projecting a mom relationship. And so 60 minutes would come to an end and she would be, okay, see you next time. And I was like, I have 9.5 more questions left in here. You know? So then I've learned that I would start a session and I would put so much pressure on her. I would be like, okay, I have 11 questions on my list. So yin and yang is like that, okay, and my inner man is like this, and that, okay, what is my earth element is there? It's like, can you measure it? And so I would be putting all these pressures on her because, so that's why I created a temple of love for us, that once a month you can bring your questions. And some of you are raising them up in my private communication, because if you're a client that you have access to me. And I decided that I'm gonna collect them and bring them for all of you because they benefit everyone. And I want to welcome today Farva, and Olga and Mila and Pretty and Maria and Romana, and for showing up and creating this circle for us and holding the space. And although you're not visible on YouTube, you are creating this field. You are creating this sacred circle, and each of you is giving energy, is giving power, is bringing your questions and your testimonials, and that is a beautiful support. So Farva today agreed that she is going to participate live because she raised a really powerful question for me, and I'm gonna get to that in a little bit. But so first I wanted to finish up with this yin and yang because it was raised at the last session, and so I want to bring it up a little bit more. The inner man, for example, I'm getting ready for this session, so my inner man says, look at the clock, set up the timer. It creates a strategy. Make sure you eat your salad, prepare your water, get the thing. Don't forget how much time you need for makeup. Did you think about the dress you're gonna wear? Okay, don't forget to make the place cold enough so that you can turn off the aircon. It's like it's thinking so many things. So the yang energy is the one that creates a structure, a strategy. It also creates a deep self-esteem and self-respect. That is my inner man. That says, in my world, this is acceptable and this is not acceptable. This is good for me and this is not good for me. Okay? But my inner woman, it says, oh, and let me smell the flowers. Oh, these beautiful lilies we bought today at the market, and the roses were still good. And I'm like, should I get another vase so we don't throw away the roses to replace with the new lilies? But then this, and she's like, should I have the salad? And I want some of these new fruits we bought. Should I try that? And then I'm like, oh, let me take a shower again and use my chocolate scrub. This will make me feel so good. And so there is these two entities inside of me. The woman wants to relax and enjoy the process, and she's excited about the preparation and so forth. But the man is like, okay, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, you gotta do that. Is this a little bit clearer? I've got some messages coming in. Yeah, there's some good questions here. I'll get back to this in a bit. And so, but there is a difference between if you are acting on fire. So you can be a very feminine woman and don't have a really strong inner man, but you can be running on testosterone, and you can be super low on estrogen and progesterone, which I call water and earth element. And so then you don't have the feminine energy, but you don't have a strong inner man either. So you can be young but not have a strong developed masculine identity inside of you. And so when men or women or at work, when people meet you, your core, your that self-esteem, that is your inner man. That is the king inside. He's the one that creates boundaries, negotiates. He takes care of the princess or the queen. So when you're getting into a relationship, so with Mila, our first session about 6 months ago, she came up. She's 20 years old. She's absolutely beautiful, intelligent. She is making her own money, working. It's like studying a lot of feminine things and so forth. So she has come with like, the 51 shades of grey. She had like 157 questions. I'm exaggerating, I'm throwing a number. I mean, it was like 4 hours. She was like a focusnik, how to call it. Illusionists, they have a hat and then they take out these things and it never ends. She was taking one question after the other. And they were not questions, they were concepts that they put into women's minds in Instagram with all these shorts. This is what a woman should do. This is what a feminine woman should do. If you want to get expensive gifts, this is what you should do. This is what a woman should never do. This is the seven keys that a woman should do or shouldn't do. This is what you have to do if you want to get a quality man. And it's like, fuck. It's so much trash out there. Like, it's all valuable, but it makes no sense to a woman. How do you apply that? It's like, what does that mean to be a feminine woman? And so, yeah. That was the thing when I found finally this teacher that was right for me, that I felt that she had the answers, because she had a really strong inner man. She was a doctor. They had 16 years with her husband. They were running the school of geisha in Moscow, working with some of the richest people and so forth. So they figured it out. They ran it as an expensive business, and she had incredible, delicious feminine energy. I was excited. She was gentle and sweet, and I was liking that because my mom was a Scorpio, so she was real and honest. So I wanted somebody to be like, sweet and kind and gentle with me. I was loving this connection, and I was willing to pay the money to learn this new scenario of how a woman can be gentle. And so at first I went overboard, and I was super afraid to be real and opinionated. And, with Olga, we were talking a couple days ago, and she said she had an experience that she went somewhere, and she had a personal opinion about the group. And she said, I don't want to be judgmental. I'm like, be judgmental. I'm curious about your judgment. And she's like, no, I don't want to be judgmental. So it was like this and like that and like that. And so I'm listening. So do you mind if I use this like as a mini session for you? I'm going to blow it out. Okay, so I'm listening to that. I'm thinking, fuck. This is what you are, uninteresting and unexciting right now because you have no opinion. And here, what is this about? This is about the good girl archetype. So I want to separate here. there's a good girl archetype when we're afraid to be in disagreement with whatever is out there. And so that means we are taking our inner man with his judgment, with his logic, with his decision making, with his ability, and his level of awareness of who you think you are. I'm gonna put him down in a corner and I'm gonna say, you be a quiet little boy. Because no, I want to be a good girl in this world. I don't want to judge anyone. So as a woman, you become bland. So if I am a man dating, I'm like, ugh, she's afraid to even have an opinion. Like, I'm not going to pay for her coffee or go anywhere with her. Like, what emotions is she going to give to me? I can't figure out what she likes and what she doesn't like. I'm like, and I was telling, be opinionated, because why would I want to spend 10 minutes listening to blah, 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 blah? You become uninteresting to my inner man. It's thinking I'm wasting time. But if you tell me your opinion, I'm like, interesting, I completely disagree with you. But you become interesting to me. You have an opinion. And then I can have an opinion. I can have an emotion about that. I can say I agree, I disagree. I like, I don't like. And so I was super afraid to be like what I'm showing up, the way I'm showing up right now, and the way I'm inviting you to be like that. I was super afraid. So this teacher, she was like so nice to everyone in our geisha course, and whoever said whatever nonsense they said, she would be like, yeah, you see, you're like a geisha. She would agree with everyone on everything. But I'm super smart. I caught all the contradictions. And then I'm catching her by the throat. I'm like, excuse me. So this is a yes, and this is a yes, and this is a yes, and this makes no sense. And she was like, yes, and you are right too. And another course I had, I just turned 40. And there was this incredible woman in LA. She was on television, Dr. Lauren Francis. She is gorgeous, Italian. Like, she was 50 at the time, and 55. And she was a little bit like Sophia Loren. And the marketing was high on and so forth. So she was selling for $3,000 a 3-day retreat with her in LA in a castle with a photographer that does for Elle magazine and Vogue magazine the covers. That one day they were going to shoot us and make these covers so we could use it for online dating for our profiles. And that she would teach us about the online dating and just in general. She was the Dr. Love. So I'm so excited. I called my girlfriend from San Francisco. I'm driving from San Diego. She's flying from San Francisco. We're staying in this castle. And of course, I'm coming in with the 55,000 questions about why my life is so miserable, why it's not happening with men, and why is all my online dating is like, ends up so badly and so forth. So I have a ton of questions. So my girlfriend Natasha has a million questions. So we arrive, there's a small group of us, like maybe 12 people. And I learned and experienced some invaluable things from her. But we've had some negative experiences as well. And so as a group at the end, we sat around the table and she was like, share your experiences. Every single person was bitching out. We were all so deeply hurt and disappointed because some people are great at marketing, but then we were all coming with such high expectations. We wanted so much from mommy, in the face of Dr. Lauren. And and she just listened to everyone and didn't say a word. And it was also such an invaluable lesson for me. And she kept on marketing and, so forth, asked me to write a good comment, a good, review for her. And I wrote and she used it and so forth and so forth. It was like, there were parts of me that I was deeply disappointed. But there were parts of me that I received some incredibly valuable pieces that I'm still using. And so from each teacher, I've got so much, but I've never met an environment where I felt that the courses were amazing and I had a support system. And I'm always a believer in private sessions. All of my physical therapists, I have only personal trainers. I want a result, I pay for private because my body is different than yours. I want full focus and attention on me, and I know I'm unique and special, and I require a lot. And so I pay to get the most results. But at the same time, I felt in this feminine thing, it's like, we needed this circle. And I decided that I want to make myself available for as long as I have my genius husband who can arrange these lights, cameras, things, set all of this up for me. I want once a month to meet with you, so please join us. And to start this really honest conversation where I'm giving you educational pieces, but also sharing my very opinionated opinion that is most of the time in disagreement with what the mass media is teaching us. And so today I'm going to be very controversial. So if I hurt your feelings, enjoy. Just enjoy. I'm not going to say I'm sorry. I'm happy. Because this is another thing that I've learned. We don't argue with people. We don't disagree with people. They're concepts. We are a carrier of a particular concept. And when these concepts mash, the energetic entities called egregors behind these concepts are working their concepts out through people. It's a capitalistic idea is fighting with the socialistic idea to see which concept is best evolutionary designed for people. Capitalism is not perfect, socialism is not perfect, but out of the two bad concepts, I choose capitalism because I was raised in socialism and it was awful for me. I hated the system. I was traumatized. I had a strong opinion. I wanted to get away from the former Soviet Union. I just absolutely hated that there was a lack of freedom for the individualism. My inner man was just on fire. And my inner woman was in totally disagreement with the idea that to be a woman, Bulichka, I'm cold, my love, can you turn it off? So to be a woman in Armenia, this is the program, the only option I had is you get married from 16 to 21. After 21, you're an old maid. I think I was 17 when my grandmother said, if you keep saying no, because every week somebody was coming with flowers and gifts by the tradition to ask your hand in marriage, and every week we were saying no thank you. And so she said, you only have time until you're 21. If you're not married by 21 and have 3 kids by the time you're 30, that's it, your life is over. Can you believe it? This is what I was raised with. And I was like, but I don't want to get married and I don't want to have children. until I have my highest education, travel the world. I want to learn 4 languages. I want to work for the United Nations. I want to change the world. I have a different destiny for me. But no, that was not optional. that option was not available in Armenia where I was born. It was like you get married, you have 3 kids, you live with his parents, and that means a good woman. That's the only feminine life you have. Well, sorry, that option doesn't work for me. Okay, and so then I lived in different countries. I got education in different countries, and everywhere they told me what is the good girl option is. This is the only packet that you have. If you fit these standards, then you're good. And if not, what? I'm being rejected. I'm not good enough. Who do you think you are? So, is this interesting? Does this make you think a little bit about things? So thank you, Mila, for allowing me to share that your first session. I was sitting there pulling my hair out of my head, thinking, oh my God, these poor young girls are learning from this Instagram trash can of sea of information that is conflicting, not workable, not applicable stuff about a man, woman in a relationship. And so that's why I created a School of Love. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And you have access to me to ask all of your questions for free. We do have the donation concept. If you go to our website, yanabulat.com, and click on the Love Temple, there is an option for you to donate $30, $50, $100. And I want to thank Preeti that, it was my birthday and she went and donated $300. And that was so beautiful. I just want to thank you so much. It was so unexpected. And I was so touched and so moved. I was like, thank you, thank you, thank you. My sweetheart. So, yes, so this is for you, that if you're studying for years, you're learning from me, it's interesting for you, or you're coming to participate and you want to have me to handle some of your issues, to work it through personally, it's all available for you, and you can just make a small donation, or you can come for free. This is the beautiful part. You get to choose how much you want to take, how much you want to give. It's about win-win as long as everybody's happy. And I'm super grateful for these amazing comments that I received after the last video. It was the first time I was so open with my inner man, that I was so honest and opinionated, and I was like, I don't give a fuck. You like me, you don't like me, you agree, you don't agree. It was the first time, it was the most liberating experience I've had. And I was like, Bulat, they're gonna hate me. They're gonna say, this was vulgar, this was wrong. And I've got the most heartfelt, most beautiful, honest, sincere testimonials that each one was touching me deeply, and with some I had tears in my eyes. I was like, women are awakening. We don't want to be the good girl anymore. We want to be a good person. We want to feel good, whole and complete. The good person is when your man has an opinion and a woman has a feeling. When you're allowed to feel and you're allowed to voice what that means to you, and you're not afraid to be rejected, and you're not rejecting somebody else. This is what I have learned, is that having my opinion, it doesn't mean that I'm not honoring your opinion. I'm just not in agreement with the frequency behind your opinion, because I'm preferring and liking the frequency behind my opinion. It doesn't make it right or wrong. And 10 years later, I may change my mind, or you may change your mind. And so, like, this is what I'm inviting us in this sacred, divine feminine circle where we can be absolutely real. It's about this wholeness where all part of us, all parts of us are welcomed to be seen, to be visible, to be shameless, fearless, and to be vulnerable and scared and cry and needing support and giving support, like all of it. I will be super happy when we have this space for where feminine is all the four elements, where you're the volcano and the ocean, you are the river and a little cup, just a little small container with water, and you're okay, that you're allowed. We do have rituals to raise your energies, but right now this is where you're at. We love you. You're still valuable because maybe your water is low, but you have so much air to bring to us. New ideas, new concepts, new innovations, 1,050,000 questions. It's like I'm changing the concept of value about who I think I am, and I'm shifting it into the frequency of wholeness. You know, yeah, I think I'm ready to move to the. So with Olga, was that interesting? Do you agree with this concept that there is a good girl archetype and there is a good person archetype? The good person can have an opinion, and it doesn't mean that you don't love these people or you don't allow them to be who they are, but you can have an opinion. It's not interesting for me.
Yes, as always, Yana. That's why I'm here. You always bring this freshness of a concept, how you deliver that in a way that is always bringing this thought to my thought processing. Because I try to develop the, I want to accept all type of humans without this judgment, you know, judgment that is really bothering me, you know, and to have this little judgment, and it's like, and it's on, I can't, just having this little voice inside, and I'm fighting with this voice, and that's what I don't want to give power to. I want to just without that you're telling me, say it. And okay, I have to say it, so I have to say that. I have to not say it. But again, I feel like when I'm saying, I'm not accepting because I put like a labels. Maybe that's my, I don't know if I'm explaining myself clear.
Of course, I understand your position. That's everybody's position. This is how I felt before. You know, most and foremost, we're afraid to be honest is because we are afraid to be rejected, period. One way or the other, it's always behind in the fear of rejection.
I'm afraid to hurt people.
Okay.
As well.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Can you put it on mute for now? And because I want to elaborate on something through an example, and then if you feel more, you just like raise your hand and I will shift to you. So where is this fear of rejection coming from? So it doesn't matter if you call it, I'm afraid to hurt other people's feelings. Why are you afraid to hurt other people's feelings? Because you truly care, or because you are afraid that if you hurt their feelings, they're going to reject you? So this is something for you to meditate. Because there is like frontal emotions and thoughts that we have, you know, that the basic, the initial ones, and then there are deeper hidden subconscious concepts and thoughts that we have. So when we go deeper into ourselves, we will see that behind all of it is not love. If I'm afraid to, like, look, I love Farva. One of the reasons I love her, there are many reasons, there's a million reasons to love this incredible woman, but one of the reasons I love Farva is because I am most free when I'm working with her. I feel that she has a capacity to receive me, and I don't have to tiptoe around it, afraid to hurt her feelings. So it was highly liberating for me. Every session Farva would book, I would be so excited. I was like, oh, a breath of fresh air. I can speak my truth. I can feel fully. And when Farva comes to the table, she comes full-on emotional, honest, real, raw, and with illusions and concepts. And so I love ripping off the illusions and concepts. And when we first started, I was doing it very gently and carefully, constantly like, are you okay? Am I allowed to scratch a little bit more? You know, because I was so afraid to hurt anybody's feelings. But they're paying $500 for a sacred container where they can be seen honestly, fully, completely, like a mother would see them, without any judgment. But without a judgment doesn't mean not having an opinion that is the opposite of where you're at right now. And it means that it can hurt. But there is a trust and honesty in there. You know your mother loves you. She's not doing it to hurt your feelings. So, for example, my mother told me when she came to America, she looked around, she said, you're not going to get married here. Forget about it. I'm like, what do you mean? I go on dates. I wear expensive clothes, diamonds. Every 2 years I get a new Mercedes. I'm showing off. I'm living the best places. I'm going to all the places I can meet the great men. I'm doing everything they tell me a woman should do. You have to go. Like, what do you mean? And I want to marry an American, and I want to marry a millionaire, and this, that, and the other thing. And she's like, not going to happen for you. Like, that hurts. I disagree. You know, I invested so much time and money, and she tells me, poof. You know, she was right. But I hated her for that. She goes, and when I said, why not? She goes, what you need is not here. I'm like, you're totally wrong. You don't understand. Everything I want and need is here. Until we fight. I mean, she didn't fight. She just has her opinion, period. You know, it's her way or highway. She's not interested in my opinion. So I had to pay, $500 to my favorite teacher who could listen to me for 40 minutes complain about me disagreeing with my mom. And then she would say pretty much nicely, but you're a confused little girl, Yana. Yeah, you're 45, but you're a confused little girl who has no clue about life. And that would hurt. I was like, I have 2 master's degree, I'm super smart, I'm hot, I'm this, I'm that, I'm that. And I just wanted to prove how great I am. And with my mom, she always humbled me with her truth. And only now, when I've learned and got all the answers to everything, I go back and say, Mom, everything you ever said, you were right 100%. I don't know how the fuck you know the truth, but you know the truth. And she never studied. She just knows. Okay, so anyhow, back to this. So we have the biggest fear of rejection. Why? It comes from tribal times. Is because in the tribes before, if you are expelled from the group, you would die. You could only survive in a community. So we have this generationally coming to us the fear to hurt anybody's feelings, because they could kick us out, they could cut our head off, they could poison us. It was dangerous. We had to generationally survive and develop survival skills, and the strongest survive, the smartest survive. And that's how it has been. And so that's why behind everything lies anger and fear, because we suppress our true emotions. And most people in the modern world are completely disconnected to their emotional bodies. Whenever I do private sessions, it's like, why I'm liking right now the yearly mentorship, where I'm not even giving you any conditions for this year. It's like you pay per month as you wish. If you don't like it, you can, self-sabotage is also wonderful. You can run away and try to do it on your own and come back. It's like, if you give me long time enough, I'm gonna clean up so many programs that are limiting you. I'm gonna help you heal so many layers that in 1 year your life is different. Because otherwise, okay, go suffer. Because right now it's like we're living in such a confused world with so much misinformation that is pretty much we're seeing in a swimming in a sea of lies. And so, okay, I'm gonna come to the artificial intelligence right now, because this is the story coming up here, but I want to finish up with Olga. So we are afraid to even have an opinion, because we want to, even to ourselves, we want to be the good girl. But what do you do with the emotions? With disgust, with displeasure, with hopelessness, with fear, with anger. What do you do with those emotions? Because you feel them, whether you allow yourself to feel or not, they're still suppressed. And so they're in the body, creating tension in the body. And then we go and try to spend the money to fix the problem. But I say, heal yourself, become whole and complete for yourself. Take this journey, invest into yourself. This is your medicine. So I was listening a video yesterday. This woman was sharing about that diseases there is no disease, that they've test constantly people about so I'll share a couple of stories only here instead of the theory. So there was a mother and a daughter, and the mother had a cancer, so they operate her, they cut her belly, and they see so many metastases in Russian. So anyhow, it's like, so the cancer is so deep and so far, like all the organs are affected. They just sew her back, and they say let her live as much as she can, So the daughter comes, the mother thinks she had an operation. So the daughter comes up and she tells her with flowers and happy, and she goes, "Mommy, they did a surgery, they cut your cancer out, you are perfectly healed, everything is good. The doctor said that the surgery is perfect, in a couple of days we're taking you home." And so for a year, every day they were celebrating life. And in 1 year, when she still was alive, she went to check up. She had completely the cancer gone. And so this is about the frequency. And so the story behind that, it was like in the stomach, in the belly, the woman feels hit Like if something she's in disagreement with and she feels like somebody punched you in the belly. If there are other type of, disagreements we have with the world, assaults, our breasts may get affected. Some doctor tells Angelina Jolie that, your mother died from breast cancer, so you genetically are predisposed to have a breast cancer. So perfectly smart, you would think, right? Woman, quite independent, powerful. She listens to some doctor and she goes and cuts out perfectly healthy breasts out just in case she wouldn't get a breast cancer like her mom did. But if she came to Yana Good and I would help her heal her relationship with her mother, and if her mother came to Yana Good and I help her heal her relationship with her parents, she would have healed her cancer. And then Angelina, her daughter, wouldn't have to even think about it. But even with that, if Angelina came and I help her heal the relationship with mom, she would have her own breasts, and maybe Brad Pitt wouldn't leave the crazy woman who is at the point of cutting her breasts out. Like, imagine how many other crazy thoughts were running in her head, because that is a total annihilation of her inner woman. When you cut your breasts out, it's like you're totally annihilating this is what makes a woman. It's a womb and your breasts. That's what makes you different from a man. They don't have the breasts, they don't have the womb. So women go and cut out their wombs out. And when I created the womb healing program, I would have women that were bleeding to like no end, and nothing was helping them, and they were in emergency. And that one story I shared in the wholeness retreat and in one of the temple things. But there are many other stories as well. And they would just connect to my program, and instantly the bleeding would stop. Why? Because the subconscious mind goes, you heard me. You are the problem with the womb, the breast, the ovaries, whatever is anything feminine related, is like, they're like, oh, you are going to address it. So there's this thing that I shared with Preeti in our session, is that I've learned from the Ascended Masters, that there are 3 phases for anything to get done and get manifested. And that is, you have to acknowledge there is a problem or a desire. You have to acknowledge first. Second, you have to accept it fully, 100%. This is what I want and this is what I don't want. And then you have to apply. So acknowledgement, acceptance, and application. So for example, if someone is an alcoholic and they go to so anybody who has husbands, men, brothers, fathers that are alcoholics, and they go to AA meetings, please, put a mark. What minute is this conversation? And then send it to them and tell them, from this minute to this minute, please watch. I'm going to give you something revolutionary. This is new for me as well. This knowledge that came up when I was doing some healing in a private session. So when they go to an AA meeting, the first thing they say is, my name is so-and-so, I'm an alcoholic. And I had a good friend that was a model, and he was 26, and I remember in San Diego, and he said, my the stepfather, when he was a little kid, they were competing for the mom's attention. So he picked him up and he threw him to the wall. And he said, if you ever step in my way, I'm gonna kill you. So he would grab his by the throat and put it. So the kid, when he was 14, he started doing drugs and drinking, and he was depressed because he's fighting for his mama. But the mama is a single mama and she wants the attention of the big and handsome man who is helping her with business and all that. Of course, she doesn't know how he's treating her little boy. And even if a boy complains, she's gonna be deaf. It's like we just say, oh, don't lie and so forth. Like when a woman wants to be in a relationship, she's not gonna hear her children. She's not gonna want to listen, and she's not gonna want to hear. So this is reality. It is what it is. And so, by 26, he was already for like 5 years sober in AA meetings. So we're having this discussion. I was like, what made you stop? And he goes, they throw me to jail. He had to go through all these withdrawals and so forth. And every time I go to a store and I want to buy a beer or something, I remember the toilet at the jail, how I was throwing up and the pain that I was going through and the inhumane conditions that I was in. And I stop myself and I remind myself, I am an alcoholic. I'm not allowed to touch any type of alcohol. And I was at that time really powerful in manifestation and spiritual laws of creating whatever I want. And I was like, this is wrong. What you're saying is wrong. You cannot be walking around and making a wrong affirmation. For 5 years, you haven't been drinking. Why are you speaking about yourself in a negative way? You should be saying, I'm not an alcoholic. Like, I am sober, I am sober, I am sober. And you're walking far ways laughing her face off. It's so fun. And you're walking around every week. You're going there. You're standing with a bunch of losers. You're hanging out with a bunch of weak people that haven't. I'm sorry to anybody who's watching it. I was wrong at that time, but I'm just, speaking the truth. And I was like, this is what was my conversation. I was not a coach at that time. I have a right to have my personal wrong opinion. But I was like, you're meeting with a bunch of losers. You're sitting around and you're talking about how all of you are poor, screwed up people. You go to psychologists, get help, fix the problem, stop affirming I'm an alcoholic, because you'll never heal yourself from that. Like, don't you have people that are for 20 years sober, they keep saying they're an alcoholic? He goes, yeah. I'm like, what's wrong with you? And he kept saying, no, you don't understand, this is by the book, this is 12 steps, and so forth. So I was like, anyhow, of course couldn't handle this friendship anymore. So and just recently I realized that there is a lot of wisdom behind those 12 steps programs for men and women that haven't gone and healed the issue, the anger that was driving them, the helplessness that was driving them to any type of soothing drug, alcohol or whatever. Is behind the helplessness is compressed anger. Behind the anger is a mortifying fear that paralyzes them. So it's the layers. Because when I work with people, I've noticed that it's these layers we have to go through, and I know it when you get to the core of it, and you're free, the energy is released. And so, before I was afraid to tell to people, it's like, we just took a small layer out, please come back. I didn't want them to think that I need their money. And so now I'm like, I don't want to sell one session, please buy 3, I'll give you a discount, but I need time and space because I need to take some layers to get you somewhere. And then we evaluate, and then I see like, oh, you only got through the first stop, we need to go further. Okay, the next 3 steps. And now I'm not afraid because I don't care what you think about me. I want to do a good job. I want to honor my feelings because I was always unhappy about the situation. I was like, we haven't completed. You're going to go there, you're going to create more problems and so forth and so forth. It's like, now I want to be honest with everyone. You can think about me whatever you want to think. You're free. like me, don't like me, agree, disagree, come back a year later, I don't mind. I love unconditionally. You can disagree with me, walk away, hate me, get upset, come back, say I'm sorry, I think maybe there was some wisdom in what you were saying, can we take a look at it again? If I have time and space for it and a desire, I'm like, yes, welcome. It's like, remember a year ago you were mean to me, you told me I'm wrong. No, because I'm 57, I changed my opinion a million times as I got educated, as I got healed, I got to see the depth. So now when I look back at my conversation with this 26-year-old gorgeous man, I understand that I was wrong. And I can explain now why. Because I was right and I was wrong at the same time. It was two different concepts. So you have to acknowledge the problem if it hasn't been solved yet. So yes, an alcoholic has to stand up and say, admit it. Every time he says alcohol and people say, oh, you can have this champagne. No, he has to say to himself, I'm an alcoholic. What does that mean? That means I cannot touch any alcohol. Because the moment I touch the alcohol, that's it. I have no control over myself. I'm going to be in trouble. And I love myself. I don't want to be in trouble. So as an alcoholic, I'm not going to touch it. So for me, I'm a chocoholic. I love chocolate. That's my drug. No matter how much I eat, if I come to a place and there's a gorgeous chocolate cake or a mousse or something like that, most important thing for me is not to try it. And every time I just say, I'm just going to try it a little bit, that's it. I'm going to eat the whole fucking thing. It's terrible. I came to Olga and she puts this, delicious Italian coffee cookies for me, and I'm gluten intolerant, and I just go, I just will have one. I ended up eating everything that was on the table, and then when I was going, she took everything from the cupboard and put them in my bag. She saw how much I was enjoying it. Thank you so much, you're so generous and precious. And I was like, where did you buy those from? She's like, from Vietnam. I'm now in Vietnam, so I can have these cookies too. That was part of the formula as well. And it's like, I bought them yesterday for my husband. I was like, you want some? And he thought about it. He goes, no. Like, my husband is powerful. He listens only to his body, yes or no. Me, I can't. I'm going after how I will feel. So I'm like, I'll just have a tiny little bit and that's it. I'm gone. And so I've learned this about myself, and I'm like, when I'm really trying to get in shape and so forth, I'm like, no, don't touch. Most important thing for me, not even that I don't want it. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist in my world. So this is for the alcoholics. They have to say, acknowledge it, accept it, and apply. And so they're given perfect 12-step rules of application not to get into trouble. Okay, but now I know is that if we heal that initial wound with the father that was screwing with you and the mother wasn't giving love to him, if I worked with him for a few months, for as many sessions as is necessary, and we completed that and he was free, then he doesn't have to anymore ever acknowledge that he's an alcoholic, because the wound was healed. The why he was attached to an alcohol would be healed. And then it would be wrong for him. And then I would be right like I was before. No, then you have to make positive affirmations. So everything is like that. So now Farva asked me a powerful question. We started working with her privately, and then she bought a wholeness retreat. She's going through it. And, December, how was this week for you, by the way? I watched this astrological video came up to me in Russian, and it said that December 1st through December 7th is all the truth is gonna come up. This is the last full moon of the year 2025, and in closure, it's bringing up, it's like a review of the whole year. Everything that has been not healed or worked or not worked through, everything is gonna come up for you to see. And so for me, it was coming up, to see. And I was looking back, I was like, oh my God, I did such a phenomenal job. I'm so proud of myself. All this effort I put into, it's beautiful. I'm loving this freedom I'm at. I'm loving it. I'm watching the sessions that I've done with one of the girls here. We had 3 sessions really deep about relationships, about father, about mother, and we've done them in a row, and I've never gone so deep and so powerful. And the information that came up there for me, I was blown away that I had such courage to bring it out of such depth, and she was able to receive it. And I was watching myself, I was like, oh my God, it's like the level of freedom that I have accomplished. This is extraordinary. So this is one of the reasons also when you're coming to our temple, you can be invisible or you can be visible. It's up to you. And it's so beautiful for you to be able to be visible and to watch yourself. Because when you're watching yourself, this is where your true self, your true judgment and self-love can come up. You can see where you need to improve yourself. You can see, what you need to work on. You can see where you are already so good at, and you can praise yourself. It's about this balance of acknowledging and accepting, and applying the new things, the things you like, or things you don't like, letting them go. Okay, so Farva comes up with this thing and asks me a question about artificial intelligence. And she forwards to me a ritual that she received from it about cutting cords with her family. And so also a couple days ago from Oprah came up this video. Has anybody seen it? And it's about when families cut ties. Oprah explores the rising trend of going no contact with your family members. No. So the trend is called no contact. And so and she has the doctors, different psychologists, and a group of people and so forth, and they are, sharing their stories. The children, they're saying, okay, 5 years no contact with my family because it was too toxic and we cannot handle it anymore. And there was one mom that comes up and she goes, I am in no contact with my son, and this is the hardest thing because it's okay for the child to turn their back on the parents, but for the mother is supposed to be unconditionally accepting. And she's like, he's threatening our well-being if we don't give him and do what he wants to do, and it's dangerous. He can physically harm us. So I and my stepfather, his stepfather, we, to protect ourselves, we have to go no contact with our child and so forth, and he's threatening. So they're looking at all of those things. And so I'm thinking, part of me wants to scream at the world. And so I've created a womb healing program, I've created a wholeness retreat. What is wrong with you people? Everyone should come and start working with this and healing this and starting this conversation and joining the Temple of Love, because you can never disconnect. It's impossible And so at this ritual that Farva got from artificial intelligence, it was like this beautifully designed, like ancient ritual where, you cut and you create separation, you cut cords. And when I was working with women with the sexual partners and sexual imprints, especially living in Bali, there is constantly the feminine circles and all kind of feminine retreats and tantra retreats and all of that. And the first year when I arrived, I went everywhere to see what is the richness, what is the women are, offering. And I was shocked, angry, disappointed, disgusted, and scared for the future of the women. Thank you, Olga, for, having me have this conversation at the beginning, because I would be afraid. I would be like, how should I say it nicely? It's horrible. I was feeling yuck, awful, this is dangerous, what are they doing? And so they were teaching women that, you can just imagine the cord between you and your ex, and you can take a big sword and cut it off. It was all about hate and anger and disconnection. And life is about wholeness. Is about accepting all parts of you, accepting all parts of another human being, and learning how to build a relationship that is honoring you. It doesn't mean that I have to be in agreement with you, but I can never cut you away from my life if you've ever came into my life. It's impossible. And so because they don't understand the spiritual laws of energy, we're all interconnected. We are one part of a fabric. So it's like here, I cannot just cut one thing and throw it away and everything disappears. We're all part of this thing. We're all interconnected. Something. There's a dark color, white color. We need all these pieces to create a beautiful, painting, a tapestry. And so I was running away from my mom. She was in Armenia. I ran away to Poland. A year later, she was living with me in Poland. And then I ran away from her to America. And then a few years later, she came to America, And then I ran away to Bali. She never came to me for Bali because I got her married, in America. So now she's busy with her husband. But before that, I was her husband. If you've ever done family constellation, I was the husband for my mother. So of course I could never get married. Until I healed that relationship fully, completely, deeply, unconditionally. It took me a long time because I never had a proper teacher. So coming back to AI, what is artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence gathers information, categorizes it, structures it, and gives it to you. It's a tool. It's a servant. It's not a master. It's not a teacher. And what is out there, I call it a trash can of human thoughts. Anybody can write anything, and now anybody can get in front of camera on Instagram and start talking about it. It's like, they say, oh, you should never eat fruit because the sugar is bad, and you should eat a lot of protein, and so forth and so forth. And I studied that the mother's milk has less than 10% of protein in it. Less than 10%. It has over 80% carbohydrates, fat about 10%, and under 10% protein. Okay, so this is the formula for the baby who is supposed to grow. But then in the cow's milk, it's 30%, maybe protein and then fat and this and that and that. And so they are scientifically telling us, lies and this and that and the other thing. And so when I was changing my diet at 40 and learning how to be like ageless and youthful, and I was doing all this non-traditional way of healing and learning and so forth, I was like, everything I've learned before was wrong. Everything my trainers told me, you have to eat meat, and I was dealing with a raw food community, people that for 30 years haven't eaten meat, and they had more energy. And the teacher, he was 60 years old, Doug Graham, he wrote the book 80-10-10 Diet, and he would train the champions, and 40-year-old champions would come to him, and they would say like, Olympic champions, and they're like, all these youngsters are stepping on our feet, and he would change their diet and exercise. This is Olympic champions. He would change it in his non-traditional way and they would beat their own records that they set in their 20s. Forget about the young competitors. And when what's her name, Demi Moore was training for this movie J.I. Soldier Jane or J.I. or remember when she got all buffed and and so forth. He was the one for 6 months. She changed her diet to fruitarian, raw foods, and working out with him a proper way, and her body became solid, like amazing and so forth. So I was studying raw foods and so forth. And so like I listened to what they're saying on Instagram, and I'm like, who gave you a right with this confident face tell people what is right and what is wrong? Because I used to eat like that and I was getting old and sick. I did the absolute opposite of what everything people are saying there, and I looked absolutely phenomenal. I lost 10 pounds. I lost the candida. My skin was perfect. My hair was shining. I stopped getting sick. It's like, but if I told you how I was eating, you would be shocked. But where are you getting your protein from? Apparently, we don't need so much of it. It's a lie. But anyhow, this is the subject I want to go to, because at that time I wanted to be a radiant health coach, and I tried to work with people, and I was like, oh my God, you cannot even touch that, because food for people is sex. And I was like, as when you take the chocolate cake out of my mouth, I hate you in that moment. And I was like, if I'm taking the piece of meat out of their mouth, they're hating me in that moment. And I was like, no, I want to be liked. I was so afraid to be rejected. I was like, no. Can I look for some easier profession where I can be liked, not rejected? So art of enchantment. I'll teach women that they cannot hate me for that. I will get always to be nice. I will find a way to charm her so she would like me. That worked too. I had to leave that phase of my life too, but then I got married, and that doesn't work. Because when you're married, you're real. And in real life, love means wholeness. I had to learn and fall in love with every piece of my husband that I don't like, that I don't respect, that I'm afraid of, that I reject, that I hate. I had to meet all of these archetypes and parts of him that I was like, oh, I'll never date a man who does this. And he does that, and I'm like, I love you. What do we do? So he taught me what wholeness really means, and we created a wholeness retreat together, because I started realizing how many lies and ideas that I had that had nothing to do with reality. And nobody could teach me how to build a proper relationship. because she identified it. I don't know how to build a proper relationship. I'm like, yeah, I don't have this app. Where do I download it? You know, there was no app. Because the way she was building a relationship with her husband is not something that I can recommend. And in fact, the concept of yin and yang, I was actually yesterday thinking like, I want to share this story. It's like, it's totally different for me and her. I'm in total awe and respect of and everything, so grateful for everything I learned from her. But now that I am an experienced master and a healer and the most beloved wife in a 7 years relationship with a man who's 10 years younger than me, who literally loves, worships and adores me. And Olga, you have come to our home as a friend and you've seen, you know, would you say a couple of words and I mute? Like, you know, what do you think about Bulat? Because she always not my client. We met in Phuket just recently and she has seen Bulat and she has seen us together. Like, what would you say? As a couple dynamic.
As a couple, who love, I think couple who get to the stage of love. But there is something different in your life that's undeniable. The purity, you cannot make that up. The truth of only the connect is fascinating. It's impossible not to see. You don't even need to talk. You can feel it. It's beautiful.
Thank you so much. You are cutting off. It's really hard to hear you. But basically,
Is it? I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can put it on mute. But I think the key things that you said is like, you can't fake it. It's so real that you could feel it. I remember when you came into our penthouse and first thing you were like, the energy. And you just laid on the couch and like, can I just lay there? And I gave you the crystals and you just, you let me take it in and upgrade. And it's so beautiful. It's like, it's the energy. And when one of my clients was in Bali for a retreat where I was teaching her about the sexual goddess techniques in private and so forth, he said that she caught the smell of our couple. It wasn't just she got the codes of how we relate and how I'm being loved and how I love him, because we have to see it somewhere. We need an example. For me, I wanted an example. So with this teacher of mine, she was married to a man who was 7 years younger than her. That was her second marriage. And so I was like, really? I was like, you are not very good looking. You're very average looking. You're not skinny. So in my world, only if I'm skinny, young, good looking, perfect looking, then I'm allowed to be loved. And a man should be older than me so that I'm always young for him. So I'm operating out of this concept that somebody put into my head. And I'm looking at a woman who is short, chubby, looks her age, if not older. She was actually younger than me, but she looked older than me because she was eating meat and all this stuff, and I wasn't, so I was looking like better than her. And her husband was gorgeous young man from Europe, from a really wealthy family. And she doesn't have the level of some qualities that I actually admire in women. She just doesn't have that finesse that I like and so forth. And so, and he is from a very aristocratic family. And I was like, how is this possible? This is not getting into my head. This is not my scenario. This is not what they teach me, the Hollywood is. She's breaking the concept. And every time I was having private sessions with her, she also had a planchette. How do you call it? The tablet. She also had a tablet, so we're like on the computer. And when he would call her, she would be on this. So I was able to see her talking to her husband. And so the way she was communicating to him and everything, like I was learning a totally different scenario of what is possible. And when I digested all of that, I was like, okay, well, this is not the dynamic I like, because her and I were different. I have different standards for me. I want more, like I'm different. And I was like, and I acknowledge myself. But I do like younger men. And it was written in my astrological profile that I will marry an older man and I will marry a younger man. So I already fulfilled the program with an older man. And I just couldn't date anybody my age and older. It was something inside of me was saying no. And I kept thinking, what is wrong with me? But then when I read my astrological profile, I was like, oh, okay, that's written in me. That's my code. And so I was like, okay, who do I have to become? How do I have to change? How much sexual energy I have to generate to be a valuable woman for a man who is younger than me? Because with age, your sexual energy goes down, and so you're valuable when you have a lot of sexual energy. So I work like crazy to raise my water and my earth, and to attract and to be in a happy, healthy relationship, because I acknowledge the problem and I acknowledge my desire. I accepted the fact that I'm older. I accepted the fact that it's hard to compete with younger girls. But I also saw the potential. I was like, oh my God. She got married at a later part of her life to a younger man and from a really good family, and he's worshiping her. So I was like, this is possible. Okay. So I bought everything from her. I learned everything from her. And I remember I went to Dubai for a private retreat with her, and there was 8 women in there. And she said, oh, Yana, I'm going to give you right now like a piece of gold. Normally this kind of stuff I share only in private sessions. And she said, don't you want, so she was measuring by the computer how much sexual energy each one of us is emitting, because it's actually all a science and so forth. And some other day I'm feeling my energy, like I'm getting tired, but some other day when I'm doing for the Sexual Goddess retreat a video, I will go in deeper in there and share with you some personal stories about that. Right now I just want to talk about the AI concept. I'm building it all about the opinions. What can we trust? What is true? What is wrong for us? Like I'm building the case for that as a lawyer. And so I told to them that I'm not using these instruments that they work with to tighten their vagina, to develop the water muscle and so forth, because her husband is an inventor, and so he created a special tools. And I bought them, I had them, and I tried them out, and it just didn't feel right to my system. And I had an inner fight. My mind was like, you have to do what they tell you to do, they're telling you the right things, blah 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 blah. But it was my body was like, doesn't feel right to my body. And so I took everything that I bought from her, and I went to the mountain, to the top. It was Mount Soledad, and I sat there. I prayed to my higher self, and I started crying. I felt so helpless. I was like, here I spent over $100,000, 10 years of my life, 12 hours a day I would be studying every day, everything the feminine coaches had to offer all over the world, non-stop. I was listening, learning, reading, going, taking courses, because I had residual income. And so after 35, I built a $5 million business. So I was receiving residual income. I had nothing to do. I had my education paid for. I bought a house for $500,000. I had a brand new Mercedes, and the company, Arbonne International, it was paying me every month $1,000 to rent or lease or whatever, pay off a white Mercedes. And so every 2 years I would just get a new one. And it was paid for. I didn't have to invest in that. I was just enjoying it. And so I was like, I had everything. And now I had time and money. I didn't know, I just wanted to be happy in a relationship, and it wasn't working out for me. And I was like, why? I'm smart, I'm educated, I'm kind, I'm a good person. I can be nice. I try not to argue with people. I don't want to tell them the truth of what I think. I suppress all my emotions. I'm a good girl. What's wrong? Why is that happening? So I started studying all of these things. And so after all of her courses, I sat on the top of the mountain and I just started crying. I felt so helpless. I was like, it's not going to happen for me. I'm hopeless. I'm 45 now, and it's just like there's nothing left there, no stone unturned. I read encyclopedias on Tao and Tantra and everything, like this thick, big books. I've studied everything there is. Tried, and Mantek Chia and everything, and I was like, why is it not working out for me? Which pieces am I missing? And so and when I surrendered to God, to my higher self, and I just cried and I surrendered and I said, this is what I desire so much. So I acknowledged what I truly desire, and I accepted the fact that I don't know. I know so much, and all of that is like trash. Like my head is filled with so much trash that is not working, not connecting. Pieces are not creating results. And that's when I've heard the answers inside of me. I went home and I created a womb healing program, and I was using it for myself. And slowly I healed inside my womb, my fears, my emotions, all these monsters emotional monsters that we suppress. And I started healing that and feeling lifted up, more energy was coming up. And I kept on working with the sexual practices that she taught me because they were excellent. And now they were filling up my womb with so much energy. I started glowing. I started feeling how this energy is moving up. So anyhow, when I came to Dubai, I already was amazing. People would come up to me on the streets and they're like, there is some magic about you. They actually, one girl, she said, I've been watching you for a while, and I told my girlfriends that you are magical. Aren't you? I'm like, how do you know? artoфenchantment.com. That was the name of my website. Right now I call it School of Love, but at that time was that. I was like, yeah, I studied feminine magic and I teach this. And she goes, yes, I feel it from like far away. And she was a builder in Bali. She was a multi-millionaire in Bali, but it's hard to say this word because they're all making millions. But she had a couple of buildings with apartments that her husband and her were buying, but she had 9 of hers and he had 11 of his. So like, she was really well set. Powerful, beautiful girl. And she showed me the best beach clubs and everything in Bali and so forth. She's like, I'll pay for everything, I'll show you everything. I just want my daughter, she was 11 years old, I just want to be in your presence. And whenever we would go eat or something, she would constantly telling her daughter, watch her, learn her, see her attitude, see this. She was pointing out to her every little thing that she was catching in my behavior that was not in her formula, not in her code. And so we need these, life examples where we can take what we like and don't take what we don't like. So anyhow, here I'm in Dubai, and I tell them that, I don't practice on this instrument, and I don't believe in having sex with men until I'm married and loved, worshipped, and adored. And I said, so I developed a sexual goddess techniques when I'm orgasmic every day, where I'm having the water orgasm, which raises my estrogen, and I'm getting the earth orgasm, which raises my progesterone. And that I went to the doctor and I tested my hormones, and at 46 my hormones were of that 20-year-old girl, and they were in shock. And I had my before, because before my estrogen and progesterone were borderline. They said like a few more years and you would be a cancer candidate, because one of the reasons the cancer is also that your feminine hormones are not functioning in your body properly. So I was super excited about the results, and I was super happy with myself and the attention from men I was getting and so forth. So I went there to just kind of prove to myself I graduated. Like, I wanted the approval. I wanted mommy to say, Yana, you're great. And they have this computer program that actually tests you. And so I was like, it's 10,000 euros. She was selling it at that time. And I was like, let me go test myself out, and maybe I'll buy it and I'll use it on retreats where I test before and after. And so I asked them, I said, what do you think? This is my theory. I don't do this, I don't do this, but I do this and I do this. And I was like naive, and I was hoping I'll get some support. So I got hate, criticism, negativity, and she was so mean to me. I was in shock. Like, that was the most painful and disappointing experience that I've had. And before the test, she shared the story that if you measure 20, that means you're level 1. So to be a level 3, if you haven't seen my 7 levels video, please watch it. It's on YouTube, on my channel. Find it. It's called, you put Yana Good Sex and Money 7 Levels Geisha. Those are the keywords you put in, and that video will come up, and just study it. It's incredible. And so on the level 1 and 2, the woman is not visible to the man. Her sexuality is so low. Her hormones are low.